All right, good morning, everyone. The July 12th Executive Committee meeting is called to order. First, I would like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation.
Announcement from interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's begin with a tribal acknowledgement, and we will take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region has historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups: the Kumeyaay, the Igueño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, if you all will please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Jessica, can you please confirm quorum?
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have a quorum with 5 of 6 jurisdictions present and the County of San Diego absent.
All right, thank you so much. All right, before we proceed to non-agenda comments, we'll remind folks that this meeting is going to be conducted in an orderly manner to ensure that the public has an opportunity to be heard and that members' discussions and deliberations are not disrupted. We will allow for 1 minute for our non-agenda public comment and our public comment throughout the meeting for meeting management purposes. And then as a reminder, for those of us on the executive committee, we don't use the voting pads, so we'll just we'll be doing voice votes or roll calls if necessary. Let's begin with non-agenda public comment.
I'd like to remind the public we take the first 5 non-agenda public comments at this time, and any remaining will be taken at the end of the meeting. The first 5 are here currently present: Alan C., Truth, Mike, Mark, and Catherine Rhodes. And those that will be taken at the end are Paul Henkin and Blair Beekman. Alan, please come to the podium.
Good morning. You notice that, let me see, yeah, I got on the right side. Take a look at that, 45,000 drivers mischarge. There's a little bit of history in that. That 125 toll, we're just over a year now when this board voted to remove the toll within 2 years. A month later, new toll readers were put in. A month or 2 after that, that's when people started getting mischarged. So this board, you guys are tricked, already planned on making 125 a permanent toll road. Yes. If you put a managed lane there, Mr. Ozozo, please look at this. Managed lanes are toll roads hurting the working class people. Majority of the people cannot carpool. keepers, Amazon drivers, all of them are going to pay the toll. And what's that do? It affects the price of goods for everything. And future plans, 805, using tax for tolls, turning 4 lanes to managed lane 805. Good luck with that. You're going to piss off a lot of people and get voted out of office. I yield back.
Truth, please come to the podium.
Inside joke, it's truth. Baumgartner, if media is desperate for any last name. First, I request that future SANDAG retreat or summit events be held in the cities of Carlsbad, Del Mar, El Cajon, Lemon Grove, Mira Mesa, and Solana Beach. Now, regarding that sociopathic May 24th meeting, I suspect that Nora, Sean, and Kirk were discussing the legal ramifications of their unlawful actions during the 5-minute temper tantrum. So maybe not just de-escalation training is required, but also staff strengthening training, ethics training, First Amendment protections training, Brown Act training, and maybe even a SANDAG listening session powwow needs to happen amongst everyone who attends the BOD that feels threatened, not listened to or disrespected. I think it'd be fun. But then again, there's city councils that people should be going to. I do, and that's part of why I know so many people here and their character qualities. Looking past their personal or political beliefs, because that's not ever what this should be about. Everyone should be listening and learning from each other and accepting that we all have different perspectives and different ways of speaking. Unlike the profane, hate, and accusation-filled polemics that KPBS promotes, it's okay to be different. Speaking one's truth in one's own way is 100%
And your
American.
time expired. Mike, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mark.
Good morning. Privileged few here. Yeah, Sean. It's pretty repulsive, right? When you talk shit about people as to why some of us may have availability to show up at some of these meetings more frequently than other people. Your policies that you continue to support are some of the reasons why I have the ability to come and show up here on a regular basis and why I have an abundance of free time. See, I was left disabled, permanently disabled by a drunk driver back in 2005. The guy was an illegal alien drunk driver. So here we are today, right? We got all kinds of time on our hands because we can't return to work. We're disabled. And you have the nerve to go out and degrade people like us.
Your time expired. Mark, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by the final speaker, Catherine Rhodes.
Mark, first of all, number 3, your review of the board agendas. Your agendas are UN 21 agendas. And the UN, of course, now is partnering with the World Economic Forum. This video, which you should all see, this is a YouTube title. You can check it out in the first minute and 20 seconds, no more than a minute 45. Klaus Schwab is literally saying that he's penetrated governments, including this government. And Gavin Newsom is a member, a young global leader. And so obviously these people should be out of government. It's your duty to do that. Number 5, regional housing. I've told you many, many times, for $110 million, our mayor of San Diego intends to make 1,000 beds. For $120 million, you could have 11,880 400 square foot homes along the border, securing the border and helping
Your
our
time
homes.
expired. Our final commenter, Catherine Rhodes, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name's Catherine Rhodes, and I want to talk about my letter I sent yesterday to the Audit Committee regarding SANDAG's ongoing corruption due to the no action taken and the purposeful lack of an audit investigation in dismissing my 19-year-old seismic concern through the whistleblower hotline without any documentation, except to incorrectly state my concerns regarding the active Rose Canyon fault zone are refuted, not substantiated, or out of jurisdiction. I'm just shocked. I think this is subpar work. I can't believe that you just blew it off and pretended it did not exist. So some of my questions to the auditors: who did your investigation? What did your investigation consist of? I think the investigation was SANDAG staff asked somebody, "Hey, is this true?" They said, "No, it's not." Refuted. That was it. There's no backup documentation of why it was refuted. What additional information would be required to confirm or deny my allegations? Nobody ever called me. It was horrible. Who specifically refuted my allegations and said what
And
I
your
said
time
was false?
expired. That
You're
concludes the
basically saying
public
I'm a
comment
liar.
On agenda. Ma'am, your time has expired. That concludes the public comments.
All right, thank you. Do we have any non-agenda member comments? Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to bring up that I think we should have a board policy that, or I'm not sure if it's a policy, direction, something like that, that we have a pledge of allegiance and a tribal acknowledgement at all of our executive meetings and all of our other PACs, because I feel like that's not always happening. There was an instance recently where it didn't happen, and just kind of making sure that we should have a policy of that. Thanks.
Thank
It's
you.
still the United States of America. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. We'll take note of that. I'll relay that to Chair Vargas, and obviously it's an issue that the board as a whole could act on if agendized as well. All right, I don't see any other non-agenda member comments. So with that, let's move to our consent agenda. Mario, do we have any updates on draft agendas?
Yes. We will be announcing the following additions for the 728 agenda. We have, the first one is 2 budget amendments accepting a Powering Climate and Infrastructure Career Challenge grant that was awarded to SANDAG, as well as accepting a Clean California funding for Imperial Avenue Bikeway Art Installation grant that was also awarded. We will also be having a Specialized Transportation Grant Program Award amendment request, as well as a 2023 RTIP amendment number 14. So those will be coming up. We also want to flag that we are working with the chairwoman to add an update on the downtown stopover project for one of our upcoming meetings in September. I also want to flag that on the legislative status report, the governor signed the 24-25 state budget. Some key highlights are it preserves important transit and active transportation funding, including the LOSAN and our transit agencies. It cut $75 million from the Caltrans Highways to Boulevards pilot program, leaving the program with a total of $75 million. SANDAG was one of the 3 agencies statewide that was selected for this pilot program, so we're awaiting information and details of how that's going to impact us. Finally, after significant advocacy efforts from SANDAG and alongside statewide partners, the budget restores $260 million from our Regional Early Action Program, or REAP 2.0, resulting total cuts of $40 million as proposed in the 300, it has $40 million instead versus the $300 million that they were wanting to cut. We appreciate the leadership of our board members and the work from our advocates in Sacramento for helping protect this important funding in this challenging fiscal year. It allows SANDAG to move forward with the Housing Accelerator Program in the second cycle, the cycle 2 of the grants. We will be meeting with the different cities and internally to see how we pursue that program and put it out for our local agencies. That is the report I have for you.
All right, thank you, Mario. Do we have any public comments on the consent agenda?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I do have 3 in-person and 3 virtual commenters on the consent agenda. Truth, you'll be followed by LNC.
Item 2, the minutes say Jacob as always attends executive committees, even though he doesn't have to. I blame the muffins. Item 3, the July 26th draft for item 3, talker Mario I don't know if he should be doing his own delegated actions, but he's got so much time to dole out orders even before he was officially the CEO, or to aid in leaking his own appointment, or to talk to business stakeholders during meetings. Also, the draft, you guys know there's too many reports, that's doomed to fail. And you can't approve a closed session when it doesn't even have determined language. But thanks for keeping the consent reasonably sized for 60 seconds of air loss. Item 4 is something Nora can't stand to be bothered to read: legislative reports. SB 1098, good that zero emissions were cut, but it creates an even bigger regional governance monster using the excuse of Lausanne's ghost trains. It's nothing but poison pill bill deals, and from Democrats and Republicans. It also sounds like Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner's okay with a near $1 billion deficit, probably because he makes over $1 million a year. SANDAG should stop wasting taxpayers' money on lobbyists because SANDAG can't even finish projects without fiascos. And on page 20, the word form is actually supposed to be from. Thank you.
Next commenter, Ellen C., please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Catherine Rhodes.
Hello, concerning agenda item 4, the Senate bill, Lausanne Rail Corridor. Just last meeting, we talked about and actually had very positive discussion, moving the train tracks next to parallel I-5. So Mr. Shu, houses won't have to be removed. Your heartless thing when you said you get paid a fair amount. What about decades of community? What about lifetime of memories? Do you not care about that? So concerning that, why don't we talk to the senators? Hey, we're talking about moving that track, so let's not waste money in that Senate bill and let the senators know we're looking into moving the train tracks by parallel of I-5. It makes everybody happy. Please look into that, because I see tax waste right here of stuff's already in action, just like them toll readers. It was already in action, and what did it do? It screwed the commuters over and the working class people. You're doing it again. 50 holes removed, Mr. Shu? Are you kidding me? How heartless can you be to actually state that last week? I yield back.
Catherine Rhodes, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by phone number 813.
Hello, this is for the legislative status report. So my simple solution, all I'm asking of SANDAG that you guys can't even bother to think about. I'm asking that the ask is to require SANDAG, the airport, the port, and city fault investigations to have third-party approvals with the fault investigation report and approval sent to the state geologist within 30 days of approval. That's all I'm asking. You guys can't even do that. It's pitiful. It's been 19 years of this also. Second, reconvene the Caltrans 2006 Coronado Technical Fault Advisory Panel, TAP, or reconvene Caltrans Seismic Advisory Board. Caltrans Seismic Advisory Board could come here and actually give you advice. They could tell you for, let's say, your bus maintenance stopover facility that I think I heard you guys talk about. They could confirm that there's an active fault there, that you guys are ignoring, pretending that doesn't exist, and not doing fault investigations, no third-party review, never turning in the report to the state geologist as required by the Alquist Priolo map.
Your time expired.
Thank you.
Our next commenter, phone number 813, will be followed by Paul Hinken, and the final commenter, Blair Beekman. Phone number 813, please go ahead.
Okay, Consuelo. Yeah, protecting the funds, all about the money, never about the people or what's best for the people. Same people who don't even know you exist, and the same people who are being sucked dry via taxes and who are paying for everything that you guys do. Very unfortunate, but it's okay. We're here paying attention, and we see it, and eventually people will start paying attention. So yeah, let's move in the right direction, and let's do what's right, because eventually you guys will all be held accountable for all this nonsense, all these stupid bike lanes, all these things that are just, you know, heading towards the UN agenda. Hate to sound like a broken record.
Our next commenter, Paul Hinken, please go ahead.
Hi, Catherine, sorry, they don't want to discuss earthquake faults, the faults in their head. The SB 1098, the bill is a great start. Shout out to Senator Blakespear, but the people affected need to be on the working group, and we need cost benefit analysis now, not after the whole Los Angeles project is approved and set in stone. I'm glad that the proposed law includes recommendations for the corridor to connect with other line 29 passenger rail services. It's one reason for moving tracks to the I-15 corridor or elsewhere. I'm also glad to see consideration of existing and future environmental hazards. There should be cost-benefit analysis for these hazards and risks as well. What's the cost of continuous bluff repair of tunnel maintenance?
Your time expired. Final commenter, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the words of the previous speaker. I'm interested in the legislative status report, the LOSAN report, I think we really have to have a light footprint on the future of rail design for around, the Del Mar area and that marsh area. We really got to be environmentally decent and know how to talk about that openly in public. And what was mentioned by the previous speaker, freight lines in many other places around, the I-15 corridor, perhaps around the Salton Sea area into San Bernardino, Riverside area. How can we really work on that for the future of high-speed rail too? All of that. We've got to talk about freight rail on the east side more. Thank you.
And that concludes the public comments. I apologize. The slip I was just handed has the numbers 1 to 5, so I wasn't quite sure what it was for. On this agenda, it's items 2, 3, and 4. But if you wanted to speak on the consent agenda, Mark, please go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So 3 is a bunch of UN agendas. Again, the Klaus Schwab video. Klaus is spelled KLAUSSCHWAB. And the title of the video is Klaus Schwab 2017 Young Global Leaders Audio Cleaned Up. Anyone can see this on YouTube, and in less than 2 minutes, you can clearly see that we have young global leaders from a foreign power that are penetrating our government. And he says in the video, Klaus Schwab, the leader of it, says that they're penetrating our, penetrating governments. He mentions France and Argentina and Trudeau in Canada, including half of Canada. This is his own statement. But we have many, many young global leaders here. This is not all right, including Gavin Newsom, by the way. And I hope that any other leaders that might be on this board resign soon and get a job in teaching, or you're educated people, you should do something. I don't want to see
Your time has expired. That does conclude the public comments.
All right. Do we have any requests to pull items from the consent agenda?
Hi, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I don't have a request to pull an item, but I'm seeking further explanation on one of the items.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. On item 4, when we're talking about the LOSAN report here, it says that staff notes concerns with performance standards being potentially added to the requirements for developing sustainable community strategies. I'm just curious, what does that mean? What are the performance standards?
The team is going to answer that question.
Good morning. Which performance centers are you referring to?
This is on
apologies.
page, glasses, can't see. 13, under Senate Bill 1098, because we're being asked to support if amended. So I'm just curious what that actually means.
Yeah, so staff currently identified a couple of concerns with the current language of SB 1098. One of these is the possibility of adding additional requirements to our sustainable community strategies work. Basically, the bill is asking us to consider the possibility of adding certain rail metrics, rail performance metrics to our sustainable community strategies. Generally, we want to, stay away from adding additional requirements to our regional planning and SCS work. Another concern that we identified is the timeline or the due date of the report that the bill calls for. It calls for all the MPOs throughout the corridor to develop a report with different recommendations, different performance metrics and strategies to improve ridership. Also identify priority projects. What staff is requesting and is conversing with the author of the bill is to, essentially give us more time to be able to develop these recommendations, bring them to our boards or different working groups before that report is due. And again, it's a big undertaking. It's 4 different MPOs as well as other different stakeholders throughout the corridor. So that's why we are requesting more time. And we feel that once those amendments, if those amendments are considered and are reflected in the bill, we would be in a position where we could support it.
I understand the time, it takes a lot to get us all together and get the products that we need. What I don't understand is leaving out metrics that define what the ridership is on the trail, on the rail, because we know that people are not riding the train, and it's costing a lot of money. I think one of the speakers even said $1 billion in debt. And so I have concerns that we are putting good money out for bad in this situation. So I just wanted to clarify what the performance standards would be. And if they're not even in there, I don't know how we can make educated choices about this.
Council member, one point of clarification, not the expert on this subject, but one thing that was being flagged was that one of the metrics is for the entire corridor, and then putting in actions on each agencies on the RTP or whatever, let's say at SANDAG. But the issue is that if that issue is being caused by the SCAC portion, not being penalized for it's not under our control. So we are coordinating also with the entire Lausanne Authority, so we can be accountable for what we can control, but also not be penalized for actions or misactions of other agencies outside our geographical area of responsibility.
That makes sense. I mean, I agree with what you just said.
I actually have a question on this too. So I'm gathering that the purpose of this bill is to try and get everybody on the same page for the improvements of the Lausanne corridor. Is that what it's intended to do?
Yes, essentially it intends to get everyone together in the same room, create unified strategy throughout the corridor, create a list of priority projects, capital projects to increase the resiliency of the corridor, and calls for a report for CalStat to identify how many people are riding, how many people do we need to ride, how many ridership numbers we need in the Lausanne corridor, and how we can increase ridership along other metrics.
So it's basically about ridership. It's not about the capital improvements along.
It's about both.
Okay, so what is it that we as SANDAG, who know a few things about this, would recommend over instead of this bill? Because it seems like it's just a bunch of reporting that kind of pokes its nose in other documents that may not help the process. It's just more reports, more reports, more reports. So what could make this bill more effective? Is there a way that we can make comments that will streamline things instead of bog them down?
We have been working with the author's office on this bill. We support the aims of the bill to further corridor collaboration. I will say it's not the only mechanism that exists. So we're part of the Federal Corridor ID program, which has the same goals. CalSTA has a working group, which has met here, that has the same goals. So we're supportive of the intent of the bill, but there are things like you mentioned, having additional reporting requirements, which are some of the items that we would like to see amended so that it is not onerous for us to meet the aims of this bill, but we do support the intent of it. We're just trying to make sure that it's not duplicative with other items that already exist.
Mayor, I think, again, for me, I have to look at it from a higher level so I understand that. And what it seems that it's intending to create is because we have cross regions, OCTA, SANDAG, the LA metro area, even San Luis Obispo area, to get everybody on the table. And when we have different agencies or different geographic areas, we need the state to take a leadership role in bringing all of us, convening us all together, understanding what each agency, we have the list of the actions and then the accountability for each agency, right? But then if we have done our part in San Diego, then, maybe CalSTA will have to say, other agency, other region, why haven't you done your part? We have to start taking some actions here. So that's where it brings up CalSTA as the lead, in the state for transportation to be kind of the parent in this situation, to bring all the different agencies within the Lausanne corridor and get that discussion, get those metrics, and by having the metrics, having the action plan and the timetables to effectively implement those action plans. Then CalSTA will have to also define who gets more funding or not, right, for implementing those actions.
Okay, so you do see a purpose for this bill. It's not just another thing that's already being done elsewhere. So I get it.
The goal is eventually to create accountability in the different regions. I don't think this region needs accountability. It's doing its fair share, but maybe other regions may need to be more accountable.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Membership. Sure. I just wanted to bring up some other thoughts on this commenting of this bill in our interactions with the state legislature. First, Caltrans did a study on the Lausanne corridor, large EIR study with the federal government over 15, close to 20 years ago. And I'm wondering if that's something that is available to you and that you can share with the senator and authors of the bill so that they get some stronger background information as to the importance of the Lausanne corridor that was determined over 20 years ago. That's one, and that's just for information's sake. And I can get you a copy of that if you need that. The other is that there was another study done on the Miramar tunnel more recently that was completed a couple of years ago as the cost-benefit ratio of that tunnel, the feasibility and its benefits to San Diegans. So I hope that's also as part of our thinking process of background information. And lastly, I have a question. When you do cost-benefit ratios and ridership, first of all, how relevant is current ridership to something that won't be done for another 10 years? That would be something to consider. The other is when you do cost-benefit ratios, rail lines last for a long time. The New York subway system was built close to, was approaching 100 years ago. So obviously New York is benefiting for that, but I don't know if the cost-benefit ratio that was done 100 years ago it really works or is working for us. So I hope we extend that out. So at least we're looking at a 40, 50-year cost-benefit ratio. And lastly, in terms of cost-benefit ratio, I know you could do the primary cost. There's the actual building of the rail system, the tunnels, and other things throughout the Lausanne corridor. for the rider and maybe making a comparison with someone who's driving and the cost of driving and all of that. But recently I brought up the issue of secondary costs. So I don't think we can calculate the secondary costs because it's very difficult, but we should certainly note that and that the secondary costs are in the billions, and that should be part of the matrix that we at least mention as we deal with legislation going forward. I hope that helps our work with the state legislators as they deal with the Losan corridor. And obviously, if we had built the Losan corridor correctly 50 years ago, or made those corrections 20 years ago, we wouldn't have very much of a backup problem on I-5 now. So, but thank you for working on this legislation. I hope that it goes forward with a broader perspective and that we really can work on that from a deeper look at what the Losan corridor can do for our entire region.
I'd move approval of consent.
All right, we've got a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Oh, boy. Okay, we'll give it to Mayor Jones. Tie goes to the mayor. All right, so we've got a motion to approve in a second. I don't see any additional requests to speak to the consent agenda. All those in favor of approving these items, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Let's move to our next item. Item 5, the regional housing needs allocation update. Please proceed.
Good morning, Executive Committee. It's my first time presenting to you. My name is Stacy Cooper. I'm a senior planner on the Sustainable Communities team. I'm here this morning with Sam Folk and Jose Alvarez from SANDAG, and Kirk Blackburn from Ellison Wilson Advocacy is joining us virtually. Some of you are very familiar with the Regional Housing Needs Assessment process, or RHNA, but others may be less so. So what is RHNA? RHNA is a state mandated process to determine how much housing must be planned for to meet projected and existing housing needs at a variety of affordability levels. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, provides every Council of Governments, or COG, including SANDAG, a regional determination, and each COG is responsible for developing a methodology to distribute this regional need to individual jurisdictions. The RHNA allocation covers an 8-year period and requires each jurisdiction to plan for their allocation in their housing element. We're currently in the 6th cycle, which identified the need for 171,000 new units in the San Diego region between 2021 and 2029. The state is taking steps to improve the methodology and process for the 7th cycle. In April, HCD released a report that makes recommendations to changes in RHNA, and today we're going to provide an overview of that report. First, I want to provide some background information on how we got to this point. AB 101 directed HCD to develop recommendations related to the RHNA process and methodology and promote and streamline housing development and address California's housing shortage. HCD kicked off the process with a public meeting in March of last year, followed by a public survey, series of sounding board meetings, and other outreach. SANDAG participated in all opportunities that they could, and also conducted similar outreach with the local jurisdictions. SANDAG invited HCD to the March 22nd board meeting, where the deputy director presented an update on the department's efforts towards Cycle 7 reform, and the board provided their feedback. In April, HCD released their legislative report, which I'll provide a summary of shortly. And in June, we presented an overview of the report to the Sustainable Communities Working Group. These are the themes of feedback we heard from the board back in March when HCD joined the board meeting. Just as a reminder, the determination phase is when HCD calculates the housing need for each region. The allocation is how those housing needs are distributed to local jurisdictions. While HCD's report addressed the board's concerns related to the greater transparency in the determination process, not all of our region's concerns were taken into consideration. For this reason, we recommend formally submitting the attached letter, Attachment 2, asking the state and assembly housing chairs to consider guiding principles as they move forward with RHNA reform. HCD's report is structured under 3 different sections and identifies several different issues related to the determination stage, allocation stage, or general issues relating to the overarching RHNA process. So, HCD outlined 10 recommendations to the legislator that are listed on the slide. These cannot be implemented without legislation, and you will hear from Kirk shortly about pending legislation related to these recommendations. I just want to touch on a few that might have the biggest impact on our region that we're keeping a closer eye on. Number one, accounting for the housing needs of people experiencing homelessness, and Kirk will go in more detail on this one during his part of the presentation. Number three, populations living in group quarters. HCD is proposing statutory changes to allow credit to be given to certain group quarters in the housing element and APRs. The type of group quarters will be determined by HCD, so it's unclear how this will affect our region. And then number five, further imbalance the 5 objectives of RENA. HCD recommends that a COG obtain their approval before adopting a RENA methodology. And Sam will talk about this in a little bit more detail. In the report, HCD identified 3 policy considerations. These will have no immediate impact, but represent HCD's signaling to state officials and local leaders that they should continue to be discussing these areas. This slide outlines future implementation efforts. HCD has the authority to implement these changes without legislative action, so we can expect these to move forward. We're closely monitoring all of them, but those that we feel might have the biggest impact on our region are number 3, HCD plans to refine the jobs housing determination adjustment factor to consider the income levels of commuters. This will require further investigation to understand the impact on our region. Currently, HCD only considers interregional commuters, meaning between counties, but are interested in exploring international commuters as well. HCD plans to account for units that will be lost to short-term rentals and vacation homes, and this will most likely increase our region's determination. People living in group quarters, again, as we mentioned on the last slide, we're still unsure of what this will mean. And number 9, improving technical assistance for the sub-region process, and Sam will talk a little bit more about the sub-region process during her part of the presentation. In June, we presented to the Sustainable Communities Working Group, which are comprised mainly of the planning directors from your agencies, and we had a really robust conversation. They're very interested, like the board, in being involved in the 7th cycle, and they echoed comments about the lack of funding and transparency. Their feedback is also included in the letter to the legislature, and I'll pass it over to Sam to present a high-level timeline on the 7th cycle.
Good morning. As we look forward to the 7th cycle, we wanted to highlight where some of HCD's recommendations may impact the process. For those who were here in 2019, the schedule probably looks pretty similar, except we plan on beginning a year earlier than we did before. This change resulted from stakeholder feedback that the housing determination number was actually coming too late in the RTP development process. Another change this cycle, HCD is offering to walk through their 7th cycle methodology with the board of directors early in the process. This is the methodology that HCD uses to develop the initial housing determination number for the region. HCD will also post technical assistance and resources explaining their methodology on their website this cycle. This additional transparency into HCD's data and assumptions will be beneficial as we consult on the region's housing determination number. While not a change to RENA in spring 2027 timeframe, the board could also consider whether to use a sub-regional process to allocate the housing need. That process allows a group of adjacent jurisdictions to develop a methodology and allocate their share of the region's housing needs among themselves. Those jurisdictions who don't participate in a sub-regional process would participate in the SANDAG process for their housing allocations. We'd be happy to return with a report about the sub-regional allocation process if there's interest. One significant change recommended by HCD involves approval of the regional methodology, which would happen around mid-2027. After developing the regional methodology, we would send it to HCD for review and comment. Where current law allows SANDAG to adopt the methodology without addressing HCD's comments, HCD now wants to have final approval of the methodology before SANDAG allocates the housing units and finalizes the RENA plan. That change still requires future legislation. After the board adopts the 7th cycle RENA plan, the process would end in mid-2031 with adoption of the updated housing elements. Throughout this process, we'll be engaging with jurisdiction staff, PACs, and the board. I'll now hand it off to Jose and Kirk. I think there might be a slide for you.
Okay. I know we've got a virtual presenter. In order to make sure there's time for public comment and for the board to engage, I'm actually going to ask that we pause the presentation here and allow we'll go to public comment and then we'll go to board member questions and comments. I just want to make sure there's enough time for that. Stacy, good job. First presentation, well done. So if we could take public comment on this item and then we'll begin the board discussion.
Thank you. Our first public commenter, Truth, please come to the podium. I have 4 in-person public commenters and 4 virtual.
Hey to all cogs, even the ones behind me. The arena scam. Doesn't matter that governments aren't supposed to be in the real estate market, or if small cities don't even have land to build, or if some housing that's built can't even be counted, or if cities aren't even allowed to trade housing numbers to meet the state's unrealistic demands. HCD allegedly provided an update less than a month after the minions were chewed out here. How is it possible they could have written a 16-year plan to fix the broken system that quickly? I agree with existing population versus projected population because the state's always wrong. And there is no housing shortage when there's a record number of people leaving California and meetings. When including telework and border commutes results in SANDAG trying to build housing in Mexico. No to aligning RENA with the unaffordable, sustainable stack and pack community strategies. For recommendation number 9, is 60 seconds considered equitable public participation? For the advisory panel, will the U.S. Census Bureau affiliated person? If the state already doesn't listen, are you guys hoping the federal government will step in and debate? Sounds delusional. What's the point of the 2 new income categories if most cities can't even meet the state's housing quotas and most people in the state can't afford the housing?
And your time expired. Our next commenter, Ellen C., will be followed by Catherine Rhodes.
Is that okay to display on the board? Page 6, that's okay. Is that possible? It's going to kind of segue what I'm talking about. It's page 6. Oh, I'm sorry, go back a page. Page 5. I apologize. That's fine. You can go to that one. That's fine. It was actually the previous page. Okay, anyways. I'm going to focus on the homeless and yeah, that's it. Thank you. Look at item 1, account for housing needs of people experiencing homeless. Multiple cities, because the Supreme Court ruling, has passed camping bans, but the camping bans only apply to public property. Sir, your district, you had a 550-bed shelter, Golden Plaza, you shut down. That 550 people you put back on the street, and you go down to Market Street right now, businesses are suffering, drug tents everywhere. Until you address the main problem, and also boot camp, my boot camp, I served 20 years in the Navy, you're tearing down functional housing and putting a safe parking. Them housing has HVAC and running water heads, restrooms already. Why don't you make NTC use existing buildings, convert for a lot lower money and a lot quicker? You could add thousands of people to NTC right now. Yeah, you guys are tearing the buildings down in San Diego. And this is what you're doing to the people? You're going to make more drug tests. That's all you're doing. You're not helping our society. And yes, the camping ban only affects public property. Go down to Market Street right now. You're not helping the community. You're not helping the people living.
And your time has expired. Our next commenter, Catherine Rhodes, you'll be followed by Mark.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. So I would say I started working on this in 2010. So it's been 14 years on this, and hallelujah, praise the Lord. You're finally, the state is finally going to actually put in things about homeless. It's a big problem. It should be part of the regional housing needs assessment. It's a miracle. The other miracle is that they're finally going to account for housing loss to vacation and short-term rentals. I came here before and asked for you guys to bring this up. You didn't. And then I really don't like that in your attachment too, that you're going to bring to the state. You don't talk anything about homelessness, and you don't talk anything about the housing loss to vacation rentals. That's insane here in coastal San Diego. And so my recommendation to you is to add to attachment 2 something to do with the homeless, because you guys are responsible for that. And then, and the reason why you're responsible for that is because of course, when I came here before and told you about the 10,000 affordable housing units, SROs, that were destroyed in downtown San Diego and the redevelopment.
And your time expired. Our next commenter, Mark, please come to the podium, and you will be followed by the first virtual commenter, Consuelo.
Mark, first of all, it's simply a fact that if you don't stop inflation, the problem will get exponentially worse. That's just a fact. That being said, your entire plan is unsustainable and negligent. It'll destroy our society. Basically, as you keep making more people poor with inflation, you're subsidizing housing that you're building, and people make money off of these projects. And it's being subsidized by our taxes, 2/3 of the rents for the low income people. That will keep getting to be more and more people. And graphs don't go like this, they go like this. And we're very close to the end. Also, I stated before, Todd Gloria intends to build 1,000 beds. In the next 3 years and a few months, he'll spend 110 million. For 120 million, you could cover the whole 90-mile southern border with 3D printed Appy's core would print homes. And it would solve, it would help secure the border and help.
Your time expired. Our next commenter, Consuelo, will be followed by the final three commenters, Blair Beekman, Paul Hinken, and Sally Small. Go ahead, Consuelo. You're self-muted.
Okay, so I'm curious to know, when did SANDAG go from being street transit planning to urban real estate planning? Wondering. I get that the people aren't paying attention and you guys do whatever you want with our money anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. Until the day more start paying attention, that's when things will go different, but we shall wait and see. And yeah, Ellen, that's the design, brother. They purposely are not helping, yet so many, for so many years, have given their precious time and energy to give government solutions. They will never acknowledge or accept any productive suggestions because they don't work for us. They don't work for us, you guys. None of you. I mean, even the good ones who are there on the board doing what they can. I just don't know what it's going to take for you guys to get that we are up against a big beast, a big monster, and I encourage you to get your local constituents on board.
Your time expired. Our next commenter, Blair Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. The future of rail service in LA County and rail service along East San Diego and the desert region, those are two really important factors. The viability and options of those is really important factors for the future. The previous report, thank you incredibly for the words of the CEO and that he's here today and talking about those things the way he has. Thank you. A lot of work on. For this item, I can't say enough about the importance of working towards mixed income ideas. It offers an incredible range of flexibility and choices that can bring in both low income and middle income and even market rate housing all under the same umbrella, all in the same neighborhood. We have to learn to make those conversations more regular and open as part of our work and effort. And good luck. It's really important to work on it. Good luck that you can. It's a community effort. Thank you.
Our next commenter, Paul Hinken, will be followed by Sally Small, the final commenter. Paul, go ahead. You are self-muted.
Slow. Computer's slow, sorry. SANDAG doesn't like the SB 1098 standards. What's new? Again, you say in the agenda how the executive committee should vote. If someone told me how to vote before hearing contrary views, I would be upset and probably vote against the damn proposal just for this. The law should define Council of Governments, but I do not agree that the consultation should be or applicable. This phrase is too nebulous and might leave out people from consultations affecting them, such as Solana Beach, for example, which was not properly notified that the Los Angeles train tunnel proposal would involve a taking of private property in that city. In addition, I did not see anything that mentioned a greater need for affordable housing in places where the rents are allowed to increase faster than the cost of living, and this is a key factor in the
Your
need for
time
housing.
expired. Our final commenter, Sally Small, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sally Small, D4 City and County. Wanted to start by saying, yes, tracking regarding the homeless, making more permanent housing than shelters, of course. We need to be tracking the inclusionary housing, whether they're on or off site at the local level. We need to follow affirmatively furthering fair housing. We're still getting the very low and extremely low in the poor neighborhoods rather than in high resourced areas. Regarding missing everything else that we need in the neighborhoods that we're continuing to get more housing. Collaboration needs to happen between the city, the county, the DSD, the housing commissions, and SANDAG, and we know that's not happening, especially regarding the homeless. ADUs and short-term rentals need to be tracked, and to say that it's—
And your time expired. That concludes the public comments on this item.
All right. So I've been conferring with Mayor Huebner as she'll be chairing the next meeting. We're going to try to get this wrapped up by 10 after 10, between 10 after 10 and or 10:15. So for the board members who will be here for the next meeting, for staff, just to kind of give you a sense of what we're aiming for in terms of time. Obviously, we need to have the conversation we need to have with an action in front of us, but that's the goal. Will be to keep it within the 10 to 15 minute time range. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Mayor Huebner.
Thank you very much, Chair. I really appreciate this item coming back to the Executive Committee, and I have some suggestions for the letter and also for perhaps some legislation that we would sponsor. Given the unanimity of the comments from the board on March 22nd, I think this letter needs to be stronger and do a couple of other things. The specific request would be that we sponsor legislation with one of the members of our delegation, perhaps Assemblymember Ward, to incorporate the suggestions that I'm about to make. So in terms of the letter, what I like a lot of it. It's really very good. Under the sustainable funding portion, it points out that we appreciate, the REAP funding that we're getting, the $260 million, but it's not nearly adequate to meet our goals to actually build housing. There's planning money and then there's money to build it. This region, we have just under 70,000 units in the low and very low categories at an average cost of $700,000 a unit. That's $49 billion that this region would need to actually get this built and house people. So I think maybe putting that context in with the REAP category might be interesting, if nothing else. Under local context, and this is where some legislation requests will come in. I like that it states that local jurisdictions are responsible for planning and developing policies that encourage housing development, but do not control market conditions or the building industry. And it goes on to say an 8-year cycle is not enough time to make up for the decades-long housing shortage. New policies and processes take time to take effect. So I suggest that it should go on to point out that the deadline for jurisdictions in our region, the SANDAG region, which is the first to go through with all of the HCD process, our deadline to meet SB 35 and SB 423 mandates, which is to build 50% of our allocations in each category, is 11 months from now, next June. Not a single jurisdiction in this county is going to meet it, and I doubt anybody in the state will. So we need legislation to ensure that jurisdictions that are putting forth a good faith effort, and to me that would be that we have a certified housing element and are approving and building housing, that we do not lose our land use authority, as is stated in SB 423 and 35. We don't lose the land use authority for multifamily projects if we don't meet that halfway goal. I think that's very important to craft that legislation. Under the regional approach, the letter talks about future RENA cycles should include a more collaborative regional approach to solving the housing crisis. Let's make it clear that we're talking about the 6th cycle too. That's where we really need help right now. So the 6th cycle and future RENA cycles. To do this, to take a regional approach, starting with allowing us within our COG during the 6th cycle, mid-cycle, that we can adjust our allocations among jurisdictions. I'll use this as an example of my city because I know my city best. We have a small 10-unit, 100% affordable project that's been sitting on the shelf for 7 to 8 years. We can't get the funding for it. It benefits the region to get this done. So perhaps there's a way that we can all collaborate to get that done. I'm sure your cities have similar instances or different ones where collaboration would help. finally, we should add a paragraph that asks for separate legislation to preserve naturally occurring affordable housing, such as tax incentives to landlords of these units and or allow, I never remember what they're called. Are they called 1030 exchanges, where you can exchange a commercial property, but it has to be for a like commercial property? Why not allow commercial to be changed for a naturally affordable residential unit with funding for improvements and some sort of tax incentives? I can honestly report that in my city, 2017, when all of this in legislation started in Sacramento, we had more affordable homes to live for our residents to live in than we do now, even though our housing element looks really good. We're making progress, but whatever we build, we lose a lot of these NOAA homes, the naturally affordable ones. So these are many of these policies are having an opposite effect of what they're intended. It was pointed out by some of our speakers. We had the deputy director here listening to us, but the report did not reflect much at all. It reflected a little bit of transparency, which is always welcome, but we need these other things now to help us in the region to actually get housing built and to not punish cities who, are only can influence things in the market, in the housing market and so forth. So I would make a motion that the letter be altered as discussed and that we ask the Sustainable Working Group, which is composed of the staff from all of our cities, to craft language per these objectives that I just mentioned in the revised letter, and then bring it back here to this executive committee for approval. And that would be my suggestion for us to get this a little stronger, make some actions happen. Again, one of our legislative priorities is to lead on RENA reform, not just sit back and watch.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. I know that I'm receiving requests to speak, but I cannot see those on the screen. Member Burkholder, Mayor Jones, did either of you have comments?
I do. Thank
Mayor
you so
Jones?
much. I actually have some other things that I'd like to cover that maybe you could incorporate into that. So one of the things, we talk about this a lot. In my city, we have 3,300 deed restricted affordable units. That's 10% of my total housing stock. I have another 464 in my pipeline out of 3,000 units that are in my pipeline. The problem that we always have is, we had one of the largest redevelopment agencies. There is literally no way to build these, back to your point, Mayor Hibner, is because there's no money to actually help assist the developers, being that I want to make it very clear, a lot of folks don't understand this, is we don't actually build the housing, it's private development. But anyway, I mean, that's, that is a real challenge for us. But I want to go back to May 12th of 2018. We originally at SANDAG, we used to always try to work with HCD and say, hey, listen, this is what our planning directors are telling us. This is how much we can actually build that's in our housing elements now, what we can actually build. So back then it was 116,000 units. I looked it up so that I have the right number, right around 116,000 that we had that we were planning on negotiating down. It came back to the next meeting and there was a weighted vote and it went from 116 back up to the almost 172,000. So I would challenge our staff to look into where we actually have delivered, where we haven't. And my city is one of the fastest growing in the county. We literally can't handle all of the development. It's very difficult for us. How we look, and if we continue to take a higher number that we know that we can't actually build, it puts cities like Coronado, Solana Beach, where there isn't a lot of land left. I think Imperial Beach is one of those cities as well. And Lemon Grove. And so it puts them in a precarious position because we're requiring them or trying to force them to build housing that they literally don't have any space for. One of the things that I did want to discuss specifically in the HCD future implementation efforts is item number 8, reduce allocation to unincorporated areas outside of population centers. This is literally government control of where people can actually afford to buy a home and trying to control their lives. I'm adamantly opposed to that. And then also forcing it into the cities. Again, back to the point, I'm one of the fastest growing cities in the county. I hope that we will somehow incorporate this into our letter. These challenges, because if you all recall, and I know our Mayor Huebner, that you actually are very aware of this, but we had 4 cities that actually filed a lawsuit against this action because they were allocated too much housing that they couldn't build, and that is Coronado, Lemon Grove, Solana Beach, and Imperial Beach. We don't need any more division in this board. I think that's pretty clear. We need to figure out how we're incorporating housing to where it can be built. Some of it will have to be in the further reaches, which then leads me to the point of when we're looking at our transportation, we need to figure out how we're going to transport these folks to their job centers and spreading the housing all throughout the county, not just forcing it into the cities. So I don't know where those points would be, but I would like to maybe have staff come back with some of these discussions that I brought up today, bring it back to the executive committee, and then, so I guess that would be a substitute motion. I don't know unless you want
Let's
to.
just add to the motion, so, because I understand what you're saying. So
Yeah.
it sounds like your points about, you've got a lot in the pipeline. When we make the point that we've got $49 billion worth of need, not just 260 million, that might help. Maybe some examples of yours we can add to the letter. The other thing, what I'm hearing you saying is the county where there is land, and I know that the county themselves just, made an exception for allowing more building in certain areas. If we can provide flexible fleets there, would that not take care of the VMT? And so I think that that might be a way to put a suggestion into our letter and/or give to the Sustainable Working Group to see if they can add that to some sort of legislation as well.
And then I'm not sure where I'm at in the 50%. Like I said, I mean, we spend a lot of, I've got to be, of course, we don't decide how much housing costs. But, I've been pretty intentional. Back in 2016, we actually did a rezone that a lot of our residents were very upset about. But anyway, some cities are trying to do this. So anyway, just to be cognizant of that we have issues. Some of us are definitely trying to do the right thing, and we're, building, but, we're busting at the seams. So just to be, clear on when we send HCD the letter, that we also incorporate some of my suggestions. So I would accept it if you're willing to accept some of them.
All right, so we've got an amended motion.
And I agree with amendments.
Okay. Councilmember Burkholder?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have one question and then just a comment. Did I hear you right in that HCD now wants to approve our plan?
So HCD already approves the RETA plan. They're talking earlier in the process when we develop the methodology. Before we would submit the methodology, they could submit comments to us, and then we could adopt the methodology with or without addressing their comments. Their proposal is that they would have the final approval authority over the methodology, which is earlier in the process. So that would be new authority.
That is mind blowing to me, because what does Sacramento know about San Diego County? I just don't. These government people. Okay, that's just not good news in my opinion. The other thing is just a cautionary tale. Carlsbad is the home to Windsor Point, which is a 50-unit, previously homeless people, 24 of them. So those are no place like home people, and 24 veterans. However, the no place like home people have incurred over 762 calls for service from public safety in my city in under 2 years. HCD is not doing what they're supposed to do, and our community is suffering. And I'm just giving you guys caution when working with HCD. It's a very difficult agency to get them to do the obligations that they agree to. So that's it. Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, this will be quick. I just want to know, I was concerned to see that it's appropriate, but I was concerned to see that they were adding, counting short-term vacation rentals in as negatives and hits towards the housing. I'm wondering if we should address that a little bit, in particular for coastal communities where most of a lot of the short-term vacation rentals are. If they're going to mandate additional housing based upon it being taken up by vacation rentals, they should give us the ability to regulate that. So can we actually also consider saying, well, if you're going to do this, we should have the ability to put in strict limits or how these units are going to get used, so we don't have so much housing lost. I mean, imagine if Mission Beach were a city, you'd have to suddenly build 30% more units in order to make up for all of the short-term vacation rental housing. And that's what the small coastal communities would potentially be faced with. Thanks.
Through the chair. If I could, the question is, it said on there, future short-term vacation rentals. So is that going to count the legacy ones that we all have already? And I also want to point out in alignment with my colleague that these short-term vacation rentals, if they were to go on the market as long-term rentals, they would not be affordable. I promise you that. But I think that the comment that the chair of the audit committee made would be appropriate to add to the letter as well.
I just want to make sure I understand that. When you say the ability to regulate, you mean without having to go through the Coastal Commission?
That's the
Okay,
primary
yeah,
challenge is
yeah.
we don't have a regulation control. We got to go to coastal.
Yeah. I mean, our policies have to go through there as well, that in order for them to be applicable within the coastal zone, but understood that your
Yeah, I
entire
got it.
existence.
Our problem is we're entirely in the coastal zone. We don't have a choice.
Understood. Okay, so we've got a motion in a second. The one thing I will say, and San Diego has been super aggressive in terms of our efforts to create opportunities to build. I do think that there is, and I am all for pursuing as much state funding as possible to meet the goals that they're saying that we need to set. I would also say that ACA 5, I think, does present a really important opportunity for cities to be able to access financing easier. So ACA 5 would lower the threshold for bonds for affordable housing to 55%. That would, I think, be a significant game changer in terms of the ability to access capital that could be the bridge financing necessary to make projects like the one that you mentioned possible, maybe perhaps some of what's happening in San Marcos. That is only applicable to cities, counties, and special districts, as I understand it. Jose, I'm not sure if there might be an ability to seek some clarification, not through this action, but just for the members of the board to know about what opportunities there are for kind of collaboration across jurisdictions to put something forward within the confines of ACA 5. Because again, that is going to make it easier to access capital. It's not going to provide us capital, but will make it easier to access it. So we've got a motion. We have a second. Member Duncan?
Thank you. You may have already covered it. I wasn't here earlier, and I'm the alternate, so I won't be able to vote, I don't believe, under our procedures. But I just wanted to make an extremely quick point. Preliminarily, first, Director Zito's point is really well taken because many of the state legislatures now are proposing legislation that particularly says that the Coastal Act, which is in conflict with it, no longer applies. So there is the ability to ask if there's going to be new legislation to have it ruled that the other state, it's exempt from the other state law. And that's important for Coronado because all of Coronado is subject to the Coastal Act. But one other quick comment on Director Zito's comments. The definition of short-term rentals is really important. A lot of cities have different definitions. In Coronado, we have 26 days or less. And I'm pretty sure that no city in the country will probably outlaw, month-to-month rentals. So it's interesting to see if this goes forward, that there's actually a definition for it in the legislation that makes it understandable and workable. And then just my last 10-second comment is, for Coronado, and I don't know if I read everything in the attachments last night, but the issue we had of two specific things. One, having the Navy jobs on all the bases count in our calculation, but having not only none of the housing that exists there, that might make sense because you think this is a new housing issue, but none of the new housing being built on the bases was allowed to count towards our RENA allocation numbers. So that and the other fact that we don't have any lots, the minimum lots, the size that HCD requires us to designate for zoning made it impossible for us to comply. I know that because HCD came to Coronado and told us that. It's impossible, get a legislative change. We know how fast that would have went. So we ended up spending hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s, not on building any new housing for people that could use it in Coronado, like our teachers and our police and other workers who can't live there because it's too expensive, but rather we spent it on consultants and legal fees to get a settlement with the Attorney General where they sued us the same day and then issued us things that didn't comply in the settlement. It didn't comply with the HCD rules so that we could just barely start to try to function. So thank you for any attention on those issues. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Duncan. We'll go back to Mayor Jones.
Yeah, thank you. So my clarification is because you were kind of talking and I was trying to write. When I talked about the negotiation of our total RENA housing allocation for the region, are we going to be able to have some wording in our letter that says we want to continue to be able to do that, to figure out how we can actually absorb housing into areas that have constraints like Coronado, for instance? And I think you too, Mayor Huebner, have that issue as well.
I don't know how that can fit in with, so we're asking for legislation. I mean, I get your concern. I understand your concern, but I don't know, because wasn't there some law that HCD said that you can't go back and challenge the overall number? Otherwise, if you come back, I mean, look what happened.
In the next allocation, not the past allocation.
I
but
think
the
that's what
current.
some of the transparency stuff that they're doing is getting to. So I think that is the one thing that they did that will allow us to know, like be able to see their work. You know, like how did you get to it?
Yeah, because our technical working group, TWIG here at SANDAG, I'm pretty sure that they had actually, that was all the planning directors, I think the planning directors, but folks from all of our planning stuff throughout the county, they actually sat down and said, okay, here's how much we can absorb. That's where the 116,000 number came from. So, this pie in the sky high number only puts all the cities at risk because there are now determinations that now HCD can take action against us. And then it becomes by right housing, which nobody wants here in San Diego County, probably throughout the state, but us specifically. So how,
That's one of the big requests that we're making, right? Is that they do legislation that we don't get punished for not meeting these really high numbers, which I think frankly, we were all set up to fail.
Yeah, for sure.
And the
Okay, as long
transparency, I
as,
think, is
that's on the
taking care of what
record,
you're-
we're good then. Okay, thanks.
We should, so Member Sher, you haven't weighed in much on this, so I'll go to you.
I just want to make a short question before we ask for the question, which is, Councilman Recorder, government used to do a better job at building housing. I think if we take a step back, the current system, the last ones we've had for a number of years, where private developers are trying to provide housing, low-income housing, the whole system is failing, and it's making it harder for cities rather than easier. So I think that needs to be examined. That doesn't need to be part of this letter that we're commenting on, but I hope we look at that, and I hope some legislators are listening, that what we've been doing for the past 10, 20 years has been failing. When I was a little kid, public housing developed by government was working to a certain degree much better than it is now. So I hope legislators do take a step back and see that no matter how they're mingling with the current system, the structure is self-broken. Well, with that, I hope I ask for a question now.
Understood, Member Shu. But just we'll note our legislative agenda included support of social housing. We did that, and there is social housing legislation that is slowly but surely gaining more support in the legislature. And I will be right there with you on the call for immediate action on that. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so that passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I know, do we have any additional non-agenda public comments that were trailed?
Thank you, Vice Chair. There were 2 additional non-agenda public comments at the beginning of the meeting. If you're still present and wish to speak, raise your hand. It's Blair Beekman and Paul Hankin. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I'll try to keep my public comment today under 30 seconds. Just a quick reminder that mixed income, there's a lot of flexibility and choices and options with mixed income ideas. And how we address the future of our housing, I feel, I understand it's mandated by 2029 by the state of California. We have to be doing mixed income more. Why not get a jump on it now and just start talking about it, making a conversation among community to familiarize ourselves with the important options it offers. It offers something really interesting, I think. Good luck in working towards it and talking about it now. Thank you.
And our final commenter, Paul Hankin, please go ahead. You're self-muted. Paul, you're self-muted. Okay, we're just going to go ahead,
Yep.
Vice Chair. Thank you. That concludes public comment.
All right, with that, that concludes our meeting. The next executive committee meeting will be on September 13th at 9 a.m. And this executive committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.